There is no doubt that in order for Iraq's security forces to be successful, they're going to need help. They're going to need help from us. They're going to need help from our international partners. They're going to need additional training. They're going to need additional equipment. And we are going to be prepared to offer that support. There may be a role for an international coalition providing additional air support for their operations. But the reason it's so important that an Iraqi government be in place is this is not simply a military problem. The problem we have had consistently is a Sunni population that feels alienated from Baghdad and does not feel invested.
When President Obama speaks tonight about what he plans on doing to blunt the global spread of terrorists such as ISIS, what he likely won't be touching on is what happens under the table and in the shadows of such global dealings. Those who are aiding and abetting the killers and making sure there is a flow of bodies and dollars. Welcome to MidPoint, President and CEO of Blackhawk Partners, President and founder of the U.S. Committee for a Free Lebanon, and author of Funding Evil, How Terrorism is Financed and How to Stop It. Ziad Abdelnour joins us. Ziad, thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
We will definitely get to the pipeline here in a moment, but let me first talk about what is coming up this evening. In your opinion, you know the region very well, you know the leaders and all the players here. What is it that the president must say tonight for the people in the Middle East to see him as serious and not the failure that he has been in the eyes of them up to now?
Number one, he has to know who our enemies are and recognize them and cite them by name. Syria is no friend, ISIS is no friend, Iran is no friend. These are not our friends. And we cannot beat around the bush here. We have to clearly define them. Define who your enemies are and also name your friends. Once we have put these two groups into boxes, these are enemies, these are friends, then we can deal with each accordingly. And they should be, the devil is in the details. At the end of the day, we cannot have a broad speech talking about, restoring the government in Iraq. It has to be much more detailed than that. How to deal with Hezbollah even, how to deal with Syria, with Iran, with the Sunnis, with the Kurds, with Lebanon, the army, with every single step. The devil is in the details. The more detailed it is, and the more fleshed out it is, the more successful the speech is going to be.
If he does indeed get down into details, and if he does cite by name the people that we need to go after, is that enough to get members of the Arab League and others that we absolutely have to have help from to get them back on our side, to get them to believe America is serious? Or quite frankly, is that just a lost cause at this point? And in your opinion, there would be nothing this president could do that would get people in the Middle East and the leaders there to accept him as serious and actually, honestly, and completely get behind him in a war?
Well, first and foremost, he should deal with the neighbors of Syria and bring them to the coalition. The coalition should start with Syria's neighbors, like Jordan, like Turkey. These are our neighbors. Then you expand it to the Sunnis around. The first step of the coalition should be with the Sunnis and Syria's neighbors, Jordan and Turkey. And from there, you expand the circle more and more. I mean, we have to really define that very clearly. That's really how it should come. Now, at the end of the day, we have to give it a shot. We can't say, you know what, it's not going to work, it's hopeless. No, we have to give it our best shot, a rifle approach, going through all of these nations. At the end of the day, if they don't want to bite the bullet, if they don't want to go forward, we have to lead, show by example what we do, and then they will follow sooner or later. If they don't, they're going to face huge risk and consequences. And if they do, from ISIS and the enemies and Syria and the rest, and if they do, excellent.
There are reports that what we're talking about here is at least a 3-year campaign. Knowing the players, knowing the governments, knowing what they can and cannot do. In your opinion, is 3 years realistic, or are we simply at the point where we have to tell ourselves that 3 years is only going to be just a beginning?
3 years is going to be only the beginning. This is going to be a very long, this may take, I mean, a decade or more. I mean, look, we're in here for the long haul. This is not going to be a bunch of guys who try, because the stakes are getting bigger and bigger every time. We're now at the dawn, at the eve of 9/11. God knows what's going to happen. They are increasing the stakes. They are provoking us, and they're going to keep doing that. So we can't back off. You know what? It's like an incorrigible child. You tell the child not to do this, he goes and does it. You punish him, he does it again. We have to keep punishing them until they learn the lesson and accept to be part of the civilized group of nations and serve as an example for them, for the future generation. You know what? You're gonna keep doing this. You're gonna keep getting the brunt of it, and you're gonna have the world against you, boycotting you, the coalition, the civilized world, including the Arabs, including the Sunnis, including Jordan, Turkey, and all our allies there. We also have to make new friends. You know, I understand, we all understand the relationship with the Saudis, the Qataris, how they've been playing, you know, on 3-4 different fronts. But you know what? We have to really tell them bluntly, stop those games. You're with us or against us. And we're going to try to bring them along us for the major reason, simple reason, that they can finance and bankroll a lot of the operations that we do there.
I want to get right to the bankroll here. About 3 minutes that we have left, I want to make sure we touch on this, and that is the bankrolling issue here, because we talked about that money that is being funneled right now, and you have to get to that. You have talked about George Haswani being the link between Assad and the Islamic State. How much attention should we be paying to Aswani and others like him to cut off and get to that money?
I mean, incredible pressure. I mean, we know all the people that Haswani deals with. Haswani is friend to Amjad Duba, who is the nephew of Ali Duba, who's the chief of military intelligence. Yusuf Arbash, who runs his Moscow office. I mean, all these individuals are known to the intelligence community, to people in the business, like myself, the oil business. So, I mean, absolutely, the pressure should be huge. Because, look, it's not a question of, you know, people say, I read in the press, he's a Christian guy, he's protecting minorities. Assad is not protecting minorities or anything. Haswani happens to be a Christian, a Catholic, you know, who has ties with Moscow, who has ties with the oil guys. So it's a thing of convenience, nothing to do with that. Assad thinks very strategically what's most convenient to him, what's the most opportunistic thing. To answer your question again, intense pressure. Cut the funding, cut the oil. As I said last time in my interview with you, burn those oil fields, let them learn the lesson. The oil prices have already been factored in that. It's not gonna make any dent to oil prices. They still control that. You have to totally cripple them. Oil, money, people, resources, pressure, coalition. It's an all-front war. We can't say, you know what, we're just going to do this, then we'll see what happens, we'll do that. No, you have to overwhelm them on all fronts.
I have about a minute left here, then. Is part of what you are suggesting and what you believe would be correct, likely won't happen, but that America needs to get further involved and forcibly attempt to remove Bashar al-Assad from his post in Syria, get him out, clean him out, otherwise we simply are just fooling ourselves?
Absolutely. He's a very smooth operator, the head of the snake. You don't know who his friends are, who his enemies are, very opportunistic. Also, I'd like to add one more thing. We have to make new friends. We have to extend the relationship with the Kurds. Even in Lebanon, the U.S. should give money, funding to the Lebanese army, not to Hezbollah, who claims to be now the alternative to ISIS in Lebanon. And they're claiming they're saving Lebanon from ISIS. That's not a thing. Don't discount Hezbollah, part of the group, Iran, Hezbollah, Syria, ISIS, all in one box. We have to define the enemies. We cannot anymore play games. I mean, it's over. I mean, we have to move forward.
Cite the enemies by name. You said that earlier in the interview, and that may be exactly what needs to be done at this point, at least to let the American people know and the world know that we are serious indeed. Ziad Abdelnour, it is always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much. I know we'll speak again very soon.
Thank you, sir.
All right, my pleasure. Later on this hour, if Barack Obama was to seek the advice of one man before making his speech tonight, we have a suggestion. It's an offer he should not refuse. And after the break, the president wants more money for the fight against Ebola. Is it a crusade that America can ignore? Or simply put, is it something that we must get involved in monetarily in order to save not only America, but the planet? MidPoint continues.